Hi, third graders. I am so excited for our Zoom meeting on Thursday at 10 a.m. That's this Thursday at 10 a.m. I will be sending the link out on our Canvas page, on the math page, and I will also be sending it to parents via the Remind app. You can do Zoom on your phone, you can do it on a tablet, you can do it on a computer, whatever you want. We will be able to see each other and talk to each other, and I'm really, really excited for that. So, we're going to be reading some more of the Miraculous Journey of Edward Tulane today. We stopped on chapter 6, so today we are starting chapter 7. He told himself that certainly Adeline would come and find him. This, Edward thought, is much like waiting for Adeline to come home from school. I will pretend that I'm in the dining room of the house on Egypt Street, waiting for the little hand to move to the 3 and the big hand to land on the 12. If only I had my watch, then I would know for sure. But it doesn't matter. She will be here soon, very soon. Hours passed. And then days, and then weeks, and months. Adeline did not come. Edward, for lack of anything better to do, began to think. He thought about the stars. He remembered what they looked like from his old bedroom window. What made them shine so brightly, he wondered. And were they still shining somewhere, even though he could not see them? Never in my life, he thought, have I been further away from the stars than I am now. He considered, too, the fate of the beautiful princess who had become a warthog. Why had she become a warthog? Because the ugly witch had turned her into one, that's why. And then the rabbit thought about Pellegrina. He felt in some way that he could not explain to himself that she was responsible for what had happened to him. It was almost as if it was she, and not the boys, who had thrown Edward overboard. She was like the witch in the story. No, she was the witch in the story. True, she did not turn him into a warthog, but just the same, she was punishing him. Although, for what, he could not say. On the 297th day of Edward's ordeal, a storm came. The storm was so powerful that it lifted Edward off the ocean floor and led him into a crazy, wild, and spinning dance. The water pummeled him and lifted him up and shoved him back down. Third graders, as a good reader, I'm reading this and I'm wondering to myself, is this literal or non-literal languages? Is it literal or figurative language? Does he mean that the storm was so powerful that it lifted Edward off the ocean floor, so picked him up off the ocean floor, and led him in a crazy, wild, and spinning dance? Does that mean that this water is magical and it's dancing with Edward? Or does it mean something different? If you can figure out what it means, would you let us know in the next morning meeting post what you think that it means? Help, thought Edward. The storm in its ferocity actually flung him all the way out of the sea. And the rabbit glimpsed for a moment the light of an angry and bruised sky. The wind rushed through his ears. It sounded to him like Pellegrina laughing. But before he had time to appreciate being above water, he was tossed back down underneath into its depths. Up and down, back and forth he went, until the storm wore itself out, and Edward saw that he was beginning again his slow descent to the ocean floor. Oh, help me, he thought. I can't go back down there. Help me. But still, down he went, down, down, down. And then suddenly, a great wide net of a fisherman reached out and grabbed the rabbit. The net lifted him higher and higher until there was an almost unbearable explosion of light. And Edward was back in the world, lying on the deck of a ship, surrounded by fish. What's this?" said a voice. "Ain't no fish," said another voice, "that's for sure." The light was so brilliant that it was hard for Edward to see. But finally, shapes appeared out of the light, and then faces. And Edward realized that he was looking up at two men, one young and one old. "Looks like some toy," said the grizzled old man. He bent and picked Edward up and held him by his front paws, considering him. "A rabbit, I reckon. It's got whiskers and rabbit ears, or the shape of rabbit ears at least." "Yeah, sure, a rabbit toy," said the younger man, and he turned away. "I'll take it home to Nellie. Let her fix it up and set it up right. Give it to some kid." The old man placed Edward carefully on a crate, positioning him so that he was sitting up and could look out at the sea. Edward appreciated the courtesy of this small gesture, but he was heartily sick of the ocean and would have been satisfied never to set eyes on it again. "There you go," said the old man. And they made their way back to shore. Edward felt the sun on his face and the wind blowing through the little bit of fur left on his ears, and something filled his chest. A wonderful feeling. He was glad to be alive. "Look at that rabbit," the old man said. "Looks like it's enjoying the ride, don't you think?" "Yep," said the young man. In fact, Edward Tulane was so happy to be back among the living that he did not even take umbrance at being referred to as it. Wow, third graders, I think our character might be changing. Chapter 8. On land, the old fisherman was carrying Edward atop his left shoulder, as if it were a conquering hero. The fisherman balanced him there, placing a calloused hand on Edward's back. He talked to him in a soft, low voice as they walked. "You'll like Nellie, you will," said the old man. "She's had her sadnesses, but she's an all right girl." Edward looked at the small town blanketed in dust, a jumble of buildings huddled together, the ocean stretching out in front of it all, and he thought that he would like anything and anybody that was not at the bottom of the sea. "Hello, Lawrence," called the woman from the front of his shop. "What have you got?" "Fresh catch," said the fisherman. "Fresh rabbit from the sea." He lifted his cap to see the lady and kept walking. "There you are now," said the fisherman. He pointed his finger at the stem of the star in a purpling sky. "There's your North Star, right there. Don't never have to be lost when you know where that fellow is." Edward considered the brightness of the small star. "Do they have names?" he wondered. "Listen to me," said the fisherman. "Talking to a toy. Oh, well, here we are then." And with Edward still on his shoulder, the fisherman walked up a stone-lined path and onto a little greenhouse. "Look there, Nellie," he said. "I brought you something from the sea." "I don't want nothing from the sea," came a voice. "Aw, now, don't be like that, Nell. Come, let's see." An old woman stepped out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on an apron. When she saw Edward, she dropped the apron and clapped her hands together and said, "Oh, Lawrence, you brung me a rabbit." "Direct from the sea," said Lawrence. He took Edward off his shoulder and stood him up on the floor and held out his hands to make him take a deep bow in the direction of Nellie. "Oh," said Nellie. "Here." She clasped her hands together and Lawrence passed Edward to her. Nellie held the rabbit out in front of her and looked over him from tip to toe. She smiled. "Have you ever in your life seen something so fine?" she said. Edward felt immediately that Nellie was a very discerning woman. "She's beautiful," breathed Nellie. For a moment, Edward was confused. Was there some other object of beauty in this room? "What will I call her?" Susanna, said Lawrence. Just right, said Nellie. Susanna. She looked deep into Edward's eyes. First off, Susanna will need some clothes, won't she? I think this old woman thinks Edward's a girl, and Edward's super confused. That was the end of chapter 8. All right, third graders, I look forward to seeing you on Thursday at 10 a.m. I hope to see as many of you as I can. I want to remind you that I'll be posting that link on our Canvas page, on the Math Canvas page, and I will also be sending it to parents via the Remind app. All right, I miss you. I'll see you all soon.